welcome to the Double Stuff Podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Dan.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Charity.
And here we are shaken, not stirred.
Ooh, very sexy, yes. We all hey, you might not tell by listening in, but we are all actually Alan and Dan are both wearing tuxedos.
That's right.
Very suave. Me and Charity wearing some low-cut golden number.
That's right.
Well, okay.
You just downplayed our outfit. Dang.
I was going to add more to it.
I worked hard getting this golden number on.
And it's a very tight number, like a 6 or 8 or whatever.
That's
whatever.
right.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So with that nice, weird James Bond reference.
Well, one of the things that has come up recently, because I do a lot of freelance work. I do side hustles and things like that. I don't know if you guys do it as well.
Yeah, we do.
But every once in a while, like something that has come up recently is when you have a price that you're working for and you've been doing this for a while and you get somebody that you're excited about because they want your work, right?
Yeah.
And that's great, except for the fact when they want to start haggling with the prices, or even worse, barter or
Yeah.
trade for your work, or even worse, not pay you at all.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had, a dream that I had, let's rewind the clock just a
ooh.
little
To the
bit.
dreams.
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
back to the dreams. All
All
right.
right, okay.
I had an awesome dream. Well, this is when our kids were young, and I think my second was just born. I had an idea. It was going to be great. I was going to be a web designer. I'm going to work from home, total hipster. I'm going to drink protein shakes. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to make awesome websites and everything like that. And it was such a hassle to hunt down money that for work that you've already done. Yeah. And one of the hardest things to do, or one of the I guess more self-educational things to do, was to have a good contract and make sure that you're very clear and firm on it, because I'm a good person and I want to help people.
Can't pay the bills on
but
help.
can't pay the
Yeah.
bills on
Yeah.
goodwill. So anyway, I'm going to talk about that, but I didn't know if you guys had ever had experiences like that. Do you guys do any side hustles?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I used to. I mean, I left. I actually left a job at one point to try to do just
Yeah.
freelance work, and it was good for a while, but it was definitely the bulk of what I was doing was the exposure, the experience. You had to. It was writing. It was writing about video games, and you had to have like a show that you could write about video games before anybody would hire you to write about video games. But in order to do that, you had to do it for free. So, yeah, I didn't. I mean, that's why I'm working here now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it worked out real well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and video games, that's not a cheap thing. Like, in order to stay current with whatever the latest game is, I mean, you got to have the right controllers, you got to have whatever the game is, the equipment used to do that. It's a very expensive. Our what we do is not cheap.
No.
The media industry is not.
Any sort of creative field isn't cheap. I mean, whether it's media or art or music. I mean,
anything in
I've
the arts
learned how to play a
category.
couple instruments. I'm not too good at either, but like I used to play the violin. The violin wasn't cheap. I had to buy music. I had to pay for lessons. I had to get new strings. I mean, like my hobbies that I decide to pursue, which all happen to be creative, are not cheap.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I would never expect someone to make that trade, because you wouldn't offer that to a plumber, or you wouldn't offer that to a repairman, or
Well, I think it depends. So my father was a photographer my whole life. And I think it depends on if you're getting started or if you're established. Because what he would do in our small town was he would actually barter. He would trade away like a session or something like that if he was taking family photos or something like that. Like for our wedding, for example, one of the things that he did was like he did something, he, like I said, like took family photos or took wedding photos or something like that. In exchange, they catered our wedding.
Yeah.
Oh,
Basically.
wow.
But again, he was established. He did it for like 20
and
years.
That's
in a
still
small
worth
town.
his time and his effort.
Exactly.
He got to decide of, okay, this is a good trade. So either way, he still got paid.
He did.
It just wasn't
Exactly.
money, and that was a big trade. So it
But that
wasn't
is
like,
not what
I'll
always
give you
happens.
a plate of food versus
Exactly.
catering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's an
Exactly.
even trade.
Yeah,
Bartering
exactly.
can work. And we've done it before, too, for piano lessons.
Right.
Like we had a piano teacher who enjoyed my wife's art, and said, can I have a piece? And so my wife told her how much it would cost, and she said, wow, I had no idea. That's the part where you're like, well, it costs that much? Are you kidding? I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Not only are you paying for this piece, but you're paying for the expertise and everything that led up to this as well.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in that case, we thought that it was pretty equitable because I think she gave like a year's worth of piano lessons.
Oh,
and
wow.
we're like, okay, well, you know, this is how much the piece would cost to commission it. What would that be for your services? And then she found out, and then we're like, okay, well, as long as we're going in for an even trade on it, and in that case, it worked.
Yeah.
So she got something that she wanted, and that we got something that we wanted, and they were roughly equal as far as monetary value.
But that works also because you and the other person respect the work that each other do.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, if that respect isn't paid both ways, then you get people who try to take advantage.
Well, at least you got to discuss that first, because I've experienced a little bit of this, but I know people who have gone to make a project of whatever it was their craft was, and then afterwards the person didn't want to pay them. They're like, well, how about I do this for you? And it's like,
that's
I
definitely
spent
happened.
like a month doing this project for you.
Yep.
And I spent a lot of time and money and effort and sleepless nights or whatever.
And then you don't hear from them again. They kind of like ghost you.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I did this for you. Why are you refusing payment because of what you think I should be paid versus how much this actually cost?
Yeah.
Well, and this brings up an interesting point, because Dan, you were saying, you know, how your dad's a photographer. I guess he did the stuff for your wedding and stuff. That brings up an interesting point. I know not everybody can do this, but when you're doing work for family, that's a whole other level.
True.
Like immediate family versus like relatives, aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever. Like now for me, if I'm doing something for immediate family, like if I'm doing something for charity or Christy or my parents, I'm not going to be like, yeah, but what are you going to pay me? I'm not going to. I ain't going to pay you nothing. Yeah, see, well, and that's the exact response that she'll get. But for immediate family, I'm not going to bother, you know, running up some kind of charge system. But I will say, in the past, Charity and I have done some work for a couple of aunts and some other distant relatives, doing some kind of art piece or whatever. And for the most part, they have paid us.
Yeah, they've paid us each time. Yeah. And I think because they know that this is sort of a touchy topic with us, they're not going to be like, hey, do this for free. Like, they know better than to ask that. And I know give us funds for that.
But I know in other instances, people will be like, well, we're family, so you shouldn't have to charge me anything. Right. You know, that's the other side of the spectrum. Because I've dealt with people that have dealt with that. You know, it's like, but I'm your cousin, you know, we're blood. So that means I'm not going to, you know, and stuff like that. That's
like, I can't spend blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've kind of learned is when it comes to family or friends, either I just say no, or I just know that this is something that I'm going to have to contribute. And for the sake of the relationship and being around the person for the rest of my life, I don't want to have that hanging over our heads, you know. So either I just say I can't do that, or it doesn't work into my schedule or something like that, or I'll say yes and just know that this is a gift that I'm giving to you, and then that's that. And then hopefully it'll come back around.
I have had a nice surprise, though, because I did a video for a friend of mine. She was raising money to do missions work, and so I made the video and I told her what I would charge for it, and she was like, no, you're undercharging yourself. This is what I'm going to pay you. That was like the greatest thing, that has ever happened, because I was like, okay, this is someone who understands what I went through to not only make the video, but the little bit that I had to do, you know, to learn it and actually shoot it and everything.
And see, that brings in something, because at least right now for me, when I do stuff for people, I am working with people that really don't have much money. Like I'm dealing with people that really want to have something nice, but they just can't pay me, or can't pay me whatever the set price is.
Right.
You know, like, and this is on a small scale, but remember earlier when I was going to talk about my documentary earlier on.
Your award-winning
my
documentary?
award-winning
Is this the one that
documentary.
you won an award for?
Well, you know what? It is the one I won an award for. I bet you won't guess which one I won the award for. But for the documentary, I mean, thankfully it's been getting some popularity in the city, so I do screenings at various places, churches, schools, senior centers, you know, wherever. And so you know, and this is a different part. I've never really dealt with this before in terms of almost like public appearances versus like me making some kind of logo or something on a computer. I'm actually not only offering my services, but I'm offering myself, talking to people, giving self-advertisement. Yeah, and this is a whole new topic or subject for me. So with some of the people that I've done screenings for, you know, I usually try to, I mean, I'm not going to try to give them some ridiculous price, but at the moment, this is one of the things I'm actually making a bit of profit on.
Oh, good.
I mean, great. It's few and far between, but at least I'm getting money from it.
Yeah.
But
well, that's more than what you thought you were going to get, which was nothing.
That's very true. But the reason why I say that is that recently there was a really sweet old guy. He really wanted to play the screening with his organization, his church or something like that. And I gave him what I usually offer, and he said that they weren't able to give me that much. So I'm usually trying to be flexible. I'm like, well, what can you give? You know, and I'm able to work with it. So the guy's like, I'll pay money out of my own pocket to do this. And it really wasn't a lot, but it was all that he really had at the time.
Sure.
And that brings in like another thing, because I know, you know, I follow a lot of artists and people in social media and stuff, and they're all like, you know, don't undersell yourself, you're blah, 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 which is, I 100% agree with that. And I guess you just kind of have to pick your, you got to pick and choose. Not everybody, you can't always give somebody this big time price.
Right.
You know.
Well, and you can tell when someone's trying to take advantage of you. Like he obviously didn't have the money, but he wanted to, versus, you know, if you're working with another freelancer or whatever, and it's like, well, I'll do this and this and this, and you can tell they've got the money and the finances and the means, and they're still not providing it. That's when you can tell.
For it.
Yeah.
Actually, that's happened with some of the other screenings. Like I know they got money, and I'm still charging pretty low in comparison to other people, and they're like, well, we don't quite have that.
Yeah.
And so, and in my mind, I'm like, don't insult my intelligence. I know I know. I mean, it's not like I'm asking for $50,000. You know, I haven't quite gotten that big yet. Well, stay tuned, guys.
Only what, 49,000?
only 49 and 95 cents. That's all I ask. But it's just, but there are some people I'm like, okay, I know you can spare. Yeah. You know, it's not like I'm trying to like.
Let me ask you this. So now that we've gone through that that mindset and working back and forth, does it play into your own ethics? Let me say it like this. So like when you have when your car needs to be fixed or something like that, do you apply the same sort of mentality as far as, I don't want to pay that price, or that price is too, or now that we've gone through it, do you have a mentality of, if this is what somebody says that it's worth, then I'm going to go ahead and pay that?
Thing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
I'm not a barterer. I never try to like do that. It's probably a bad idea, because I'm sure that people, you know, give their highest and expect to come down and stuff like that. But like when I go and get my car fixed and the guy says, it's, you know, parts are this much, labor's this much, blah, 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 I'm like, that's fine. You know, I'm either going to pay it and have it done, or I'm not going to. I'm not going to try to nickel and dime this person down to something else, because I don't, in this is what I was going to get at, I don't have the knowledge, right? I don't have the knowledge of what it takes to fix like a car or something like that. Just like people will come in and they will just be like, well, I mean, what you do is easy, right? You just film something and you throw it on and you export it out of your computer, and that's it. And it's like, no, but you do not understand fundamentally what it is, like the kind of work that it takes to make art or to make a product or something like that. So I don't.
That is interesting that there are industries that people just
they automatically
assume that okay, the price is set because it's worth this. And like with fixing a car, or
you could go to Walmart and be like, hey, I want this Totino's pizza, but I don't want to pay $3 for it.
That's right.
Well, and that comes from doing your homework, though.
You're paying more companies. For $3 than Totino. You're getting ripped off.
No, that comes from doing your homework with other companies, though, because you know, someone can look at a videographer or 4 different videographers and say, they're charging this, they're charging this, they're charging this, but then you can see their work and you
Right.
can see like, okay, I understand why they're charging this. So if you're going to buy a new car, you can go to this lot, this lot, this lot, or you can go on Craigslist and buy Uncle Bob's car or something.
Right.
But you know, if you're wanting a cheap fixer-upper car, then that's what you're going to buy.
Yeah.
So it's doing your homework, or going to the grocery store. If you go to Dillon's versus Walmart, well, I got a coupon for Dillon's, so I'll go here. It's knowing you might not have the knowledge, but you know you can at least save money here or there.
Right.
But was what you were just saying though, with like 4 different people and you kind of like window shop, right? Has the democratization of some of these things that we do, like whether it's being able to take videos or pictures on your cell phone, right? They're of like a pretty good quality, not professional quality by any means, but pretty good quality. Has it made us devalue that kind of work? Because I mentioned my father earlier, who was a photographer. He's not really anymore. I mean, he's a photographer, right? He still takes pictures and stuff like that, but he doesn't do it as his full-time job. And that's because people went, oh, well, my friend down the street bought a $600 DSLR. They can take just as good of pictures. No, they can't.
Yeah.
They can take pictures and they can take good pictures, but they can't
and
take
they probably
just as good of pictures.
paid $50 for a package of filters or something like that.
Yeah. So has that
sort of
democratization,
actions
both the
in Photoshop.
democratization of like being able to do these things and making it easier for everybody to be able to do these things, coupled with our instant gratification of like, well, I pay $10 a month on Netflix and I get a million movies, so why would I pay $20 for a Blu-ray or something like that?
Right.
No,
Has
I
that
think,
caused a lot of this?
I think it has. That's why Hollywood has always been the top. Everybody wanted to go to Hollywood to make their movies, to become a star and all that stuff. And it's a good and bad thing. Me personally, I'm kind of glad that the technology has become, I mean, it's still expensive to me, but affordable enough that the average Joe can do this. They don't have to go west to do this. They can do this in their own backyard if they wanted to. I guess at the same time, since you were able to do that, it's like, what's the use of doing that when I can do this?
Yeah.
And maybe other people, they all have that same mindset. I guess it would kind of, the quality, I mean, you still want to have that quality, but it does, from an average standpoint, it does kind of devalue
Which
it.
is why you have to, as an artist, make your stuff stand out and be
Yeah,
creative, which is why we
it.
charge the price that we do,
Right.
because anybody can take a picture,
That's right.
anybody can make a movie, but did we think of this whole plot line?
Yeah.
Did we have our connections where we could film here instead of there?
Yeah.
Instead of filming in our backyard,
Right.
I got a
Yeah.
whole football stadium where I could film my sports movie or
That's
whatever.
right.
Well, and
So that's why
Yeah.
you charge
But
what
do
you
people care? I mean, that's my point. The people who are buying it, like if somebody wants to make a promotional video for their business, right?
Yeah.
And if the bottom line for them is dollars, right? Are they going to care to go with the highest quality or something that's standout, or they're just going to be like, we can just do it in house?
Well-
I'll just send Dave out with a cell phone to shoot, something.
Then you get what you pay for at that point.
Yeah,
You do.
Tom-
You absolutely
yes,
do.
it's Tom
Yeah.
Smithers. Yeah. Well, the thing is I can't say this for everybody, but I know when I was in college, because I wanted so hard to get into the industry, I was willing to do good quality stuff for really nothing. And I'm assuming it's probably still like that with a lot of college students. They got the stars in their eyes. They really want to get into the industry. So sadly, a lot of companies will take advantage of the fact that, these people are just fresh. They're willing to do all this stuff for pennies. And so they're getting good quality stuff, totally underpaying, or not paying at all because you use the intern,
Or the
know,
exposure.
thing.
But
The
that's-
exposure.
Yeah, paid in exposure. But that's always been the case. It always will be the case where
Yeah, I don't think that's really
I,
going
as
to
a person
change.
with a seed money or whatever it is, am going to find talent, exploit the talent for my profit.
Yeah.
And that's the way, until the talent realizes that the person with the seed money, that's all they have is money. So if we can get the money, we can start our own, and then on and on and on it goes. And I'm on the fence on it because I do believe in capitalism, and I do believe that the strongest, most creative survive. But it's the grind that goes along with it. So getting paid in exposure is absolutely terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Bottom line. However, is it necessary? Sometimes it might be, mainly so that you don't get burned for the rest of it. If all you're doing is getting paid in exposure, and you don't jump off of that, then at the end of the day, you're a victim. You're getting taken advantage of, and that's where this is kind of back where we were talking about, the American folklore and things like that, where I can wallow in my depression, wallow in my hole of everybody's taking advantage of me, or I can say, you know what? I'm still a creative person. I'm still gonna create, and it's gonna happen. And one day I'm gonna lasso the tornado, and I'm gonna take control of my own life. And I don't want to stand on a soapbox or anything, because certainly that's not the case with me as I've been able to rope a tornado. But I think the point when you're starting out, your definition of success generally equates into dollars.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything, and everything that you have costs money, and so it comes with dollars. But as you progress in your field, in your life, I would hope, or at least in my situation, my definition of success changes to where maybe it's not the dollars, but maybe it's the journey along the way. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I know as long as I keep going forward, that's where I'm going to keep going, is forward.
Yeah.
Because we all know what happens when you stagnate, when you stop, or even go backwards. And it's not fun. It's not fun for anybody.
That's funny that you say that, because a brief thing with that, I'll try to make it brief. So in 2016, I lost my third full-time job, being replaced with the very technology that I was spending all my life trying to learn. That's a hard blow. Yeah. I think that's the thing. That's the other thing about the media industry, because technology is expanding so much. People are kind of becoming replaceable, and I didn't think it would happen that soon. Right. It's like, that happens to old people.
Well, I was gonna say that's not anything new. That's been happening for
it has
many years.
It's skyrocketed
but it
in the
happened
past.
To you, and it's personal.
And I will say, not only did I lose my job over that, it was a really dark time for me. Like I said, that was my third full-time job I lost. My first job out of college went out of business. I was only working there for maybe 6 months. The second full-time job I had, it was good. They ended up getting new people in charge, and they got rid of the old people, and I was one of them. The other job was the one I just talked about, was being replaced by technology. So I was in a deep, dark depression. Like, didn't get out of bed for a long time. Sure. And I felt like all the work that I did, because I've been in the media industry since 12. So I've been doing this for 20 years. So I felt like all those years I spent doing all this was for nothing. Why did I bother putting all that blood, sweat, and tears into something that was just going to turn on me? It felt like it was a relationship and they just left. It was one of those kind of things. So, so after I was finding myself in that funk, I was like, okay, I can't do this. I got to get out of this somehow. I'm not going to let all that work just die. Sure. And I'm never, one of the vows I made was that I am never going to be replaceable ever again. I'm not going to have technology replace humans, which is myself and all of us. And that was part of the reason why, as much as I joke around about the documentary, that was one of the reasons why I created it. It got me out of bed. It, as dramatic as that sounds, it got me out of bed. It gave me a reason to work on something. And because I knew, let's say, it gave me purpose. So I knew if I was to put something like this together and show that I can do this, give myself a deadline, give a really cool story about a bit of Wichita history that no one ever really heard of in this century. It was almost like, talking about this exposure, I decided to do this to create my own exposure. And I had to do it all organically. Like, I made everything myself, I've been able to social media is great when it's used in the right way. Using social media, using Facebook, Twitter, telling people about this, posting it, putting it in the film festivals, people started finding out about it. And I haven't quite gotten into star status yet, but people are knowing who I am and what my film is, and that I know what I'm doing. I can create some really good quality stuff. Just give me the opportunity. that's kind of at the part I'm at right now.
That's awesome.
So yeah, thanks.
That's an awesome story, man.
Well, hopefully this podcast does something like that for me because I don't have anything yet.
Well, but you are. But
this is another thing. It's more than just us talking about stuff and recording audio. Talking about all the work it takes to put something together. It's more than just talking in a mic and recording ourselves. There's so many aspects to it, and all of us have really, really, really strong points that we can grab from each other to put something like this together. It's not a one-man show.
That's awesome.
You know?
So
it's a 4-person show.
4-person show.
It is
yes.
a 4-person show. So all you creative people out there, keep the hope. Keep the hope. All right. Keep making stuff, creating content, because that's one thing that we can never be replaced on. As long as you're creating content, you're creating something that can't be replaced, and you'll get found out for it. And that's what we're doing here. And we just want to encourage all you creative people out there, just keep creating.
Yes, please keep going.
All right.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. You can find other episodes on doublestuffpod.com or on your favorite podcast apps. You can also participate in the fun on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Double Stuff Podcast and on Twitter at Double Stuff P, as in the letter P.